Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today it's heat number 3, the final heat in my little mini-series looking at broad nibbed pens. The first heat we looked at pens from Germany, heat number 2 pens from Taiwan, and today we're going to be taking a look at pens from Japan. Now there's only 2 pens this time because I've only got 2 broad nibbed pens from Japan, so that does limit it a little bit. We've got the Sailor ProGear Slim and we've got the Pilot Custom 823. Join me now down on the mat. We'll take a quick look at the nibs. We'll do a writing sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts and pick a winner from the 2 of these pens. Welcome down to the mat. Now remember, this video we're mainly focusing on the nib. These are both broad nibbed pens, but in order to do that we also need to look a little bit at the pen. It's not a review of the pen, we're not going to go into too much detail, but just beware, we will talk about the pens. The other thing to bear in mind, that in an ideal world I would use the same ink, but I would find that boring in real life use, and I use all my pens in my life, so yes, it's different ink. I say ideally it would be the same ink, but we've got to go with how I use them. So the pens we're going to look at, this is a Sailor ProGear Slim. This has got a broad nib. And we've got the Pilot Custom 823, also with a broad nib. Now the Sailor, it's a cartridge converter. There's not a lot of ink left in here. Should be enough to get us through the video at least. Whereas with the Custom 823, that one's a vacuum filling, and I'm not going to show you me filling this because it's already full of ink. If I was trying to show you how to use the mechanism, I'd have ink all over the place. So we'd want to look at the nibs, don't we? We can't look at the nibs when we've got the caps on. So here we go. I'll pop them next to each other as well. What I'm going to do, just going to fetch in my rule, just so I can line up the tip of each nib. That lets us get a better idea for the sizes. So we've got here that ProGear Slim 14 karat gold nib. Pilot 823, Custom 823, 14 karat gold nib. So we're comparing the same material, but they're both made slightly differently and there's a definite difference in feel between them. Looking a bit more closely, the Sailor to me, it looks golder, whereas with the Pilot Custom 823, that looks, it's like a more pinky type of gold colour, whereas me personally, I really like that really bright in your face yellow. So on the Sailor nib, we've got 1911, got a logo, then we've got down there, we've got the 14K, we've got the gold content there. On the Pilot, it looks like we've got Pilot, and I think that's Japan. Then we've got 15 because it's a number 15 size nib. That's a Pilot size nib. Then we've got their broad. Both of the nibs have got some decorative border on it. I think they both look like nice nibs. The pens themselves, you know, we've got a definite difference in size. The Pilot Custom 823, I use that unposted. The Sailor ProGear Slim, I can get away for a short sentence or two unposted, but I generally use it posted. And that means it's then longer than that Pilot 823. Remember, we're not looking at the pens here, but I'm just showing this how I use them. One of the things I do like with this ProGear Slim is called Blue-Green Nebula. We've got this gorgeous patterning in there. We've got like sparkles, which to me look like stars inside that blue-green nebula. I think it looks really nice. But I also like the colour. I like the transparency we can see here with the 823. To me, it's just got that classic look. So that's enough about talking about them. What we want to see is them writing. So let's fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is an Oxford notebook. It's B5 in size and it uses the Oxford optic paper, which is a really nice fountain pen friendly paper. First pen we're going to use is the Sailor ProGear Slim. As I say, I use this posted. So we have here a Sailor ProGear Slim with a 14 carat gold broad nib. This cost me $224 Australian dollars. The ink, this is by Diamine, and it's called Aurora Borealis. I tend to use only this ink in here. I have used Robert Oster Tranquility, which is very similar in shading, but why I tend to use this ink, the pen material name is taken from astronomy and it's the blue-green nebula. So I thought, well, Aurora Borealis, yeah, that's sort of astronomical as well, so I'll use that. And I love this combo because the colours do match quite nicely. Let's look at drying times. So we go immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Still smudging a little bit, 1 minute. Yeah, after a minute there, we're nice and dry. I'm going to move the mic down to the page so you can hear the pen writing. I like writing with this pen. The nib feels quite stiff. I'm not going to say it's like writing with a pencil. I think it's a little bit softer than that, but it's definitely a very stiff nib to write with. I don't get much feedback through my hands, so it doesn't feel like there's feedback, but there's that really nice audible feedback coming through as I'm writing. Let's look for any line variation. So this is no pressure. This is with pressure. Then let's do some S's or figure of eights. So I can see a slightly wider line, but not much. It's fairly stiff as this nib. And flow. You know, it keeps it really nice. I have no issues with ink flow with this. I've not had any hard starts. I've not had any skipping. And sometimes I've left this maybe even, I want to say, a month between uses, and it started straight up. I'm going to fetch in this book. This is a Galen leather notebook. It's A5 and it's using 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. So this is some writing I did with this a while back. I'm going to guess by the page number, page 70. I'm currently up to page 189. I would think that would be earlier on this year. We can see here it's really nice. You know, I'm calling out it's small that I need to use it posted. The ink actually ran out halfway through this page, which is actually really nice because you can see here where we're running with very little ink in the pen. Then after I've refilled it, where we've got more ink. You know, we're seeing here as well. The same with the wetness, the flow, and that line variation. All in all, I really like this pen. But given it cost me $224, I'd be really worried if I didn't. Okay, let's reposition the paper ever so slightly, just to make it easier for my next writing sample. So for the next sample, would I go with that Pilot Custom 823? So here we go. So as I've already said, again, I'm going to say this is 14 carat, gold, and it's also a broad. The cost for this one, it was a lot more. It was $394 Australian dollars, and that was buying it from Europe. If I'd have bought it in Australia, it's an awful lot more than that. The ink is by Herbin. Now, I always butcher the name of this ink. It's Terre de Fouet. I do like this ink colour though. It's really nice, and you can already see here loads of shading. Drying times. Here's immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Use the finger that I've been using on the Aurora Borealis. We've got a little bit of that teal in there as well, but you can see it's still quite wet. 1 minute. After a minute, we're still smudging a little bit there. I'm not going to do a 2-minute test though, because I don't think it's enough to go for 2 minutes. But certainly as a combo, it's wetter than that previous one. Going to move the mic down to the paper so you can hear the pen write. Line variation, so no pressure, with pressure, seeing a lot wider line than what I was with the Sailor. And same with the S's, that down line comes out an awful lot wider looking. Flow. Again, keeps up really nice. This pen is a lot bouncier, it's a lot softer in the nib. You can feel a massive difference when you're writing. I'm not sure which one I prefer, to be honest, but we'll look at that in a second when we do our full wrap up. Certainly enjoy writing with this. If I fetch in that Tomoe River paper again, so here we've got the Custom 823. You can see on here the shading is just wow. It doesn't really come over as well with this. You do see some, but nowhere near as much as you see on this Tomoe River. This is such a lovely pen, really nice. We can still see here, you can see that difference there. We've got the line variation. Managed to get a bit of railroading when I did that one. And we've also got there the flow. In terms of a combo, I really like this. It's really nice. So just move the paper down so we can see both the writing samples, and then let's fetch these pens back. So here we've got the Sailor and here we've got the Pilot. So what do I think of these? You know, yes, as I've already said with the Sailor, we're getting that firmer feel to it. We're getting more of that audible feedback. It's nice to listen to, but it feels very stiff when you're writing. Don't get much in the way of line variation. With the 823, we've got that softer feeling nib. Don't know how much of that is because the nib is actually bigger. You know, when we looked at this at the start, we could see a big difference in nib sizes between the two. Let's just pop them next to each other again so you can see that. And that is likely to make a bit of a difference in how it feels. I like the way this writes. I know we're talking about nibs, but the 823 is a slightly wider pen, so it does actually feel nicer in my hand. I actually prefer the line that I see from the 823. They're both broad nibs, but the Sailor ProGear Slim, it's a lot narrower line. I mean, if you were to say to me these were both broad nibs, I'd say, no, you're being daft. They can't both be the same broad nib because they're so different. And yes, I know that's down to how each manufacturer makes their nibs, how they decide on their labelling. But for what we're looking at here, there is a noticeable difference. In terms of the winner, the pen that I'm going to move forward into the final in 2 weeks' time, that's where it would go up with the winner of the German pens and the winner of the Taiwanese pens. Oh, I'm not sure. With these videos, I don't script them beforehand. I haven't decided which one's going to win. I've got talking points written down, but I haven't decided until we do the sample in here and I talk through it on the video. I'm really torn because I enjoy both of these pens. They're both always inked up. They're both pens I reach for. But if I have to pick a winner, I don't know. I think I'm going to say it's the Pilot 823. I just like this broader line. This, of the 3 videos I've done so far, it's the closest match. Either of these would be perfect pens to go forward. But for now, I'm going to say it's the Pilot Custom 823 that's going forward into the final. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Which of these pens would you pick as the winning pen? I know it's certainly a hard choice for me because I love using both of these pens. Please drop your comments down below. Let's know what other pens that you think should have been in the heat. I know I don't have them, so I can't include them, but it's just nice to get feelings for other pens that are out there. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.